Ladies and gentlemen, this is Diablo 3 Beta, Patch 18. This is Kagekaze's domain, where it's a terrible night to have a curse. And I ask you, what is a man? A miserable pile of secrets. But enough talk, let's have at this beta. So I've gone ahead and I've decided to start running away from monsters. Yes, I have. I'm a coward now. I'm a pacifist monk. That's it. No! I'm just fighting a nightmarish creature. Let's get rid of him, shall we? So what you're seeing is kind of the first of a couple skills I picked up along the way. I am now level 13. Let's just go ahead and get past this. Alright, so at level 10, you actually get a couple of passives. I'll go ahead and show these off now. This is Fleet-Footed. This increases your movement speed by 10%. A very basic ability, but it allows you to get in and out of combat a little bit quicker, move about a little faster. You know, for a lot of people it might seem not that great, but for others, you know, might be really good. There is some theory crafting out there to where this can help you get into combat faster, therefore increase your potential DPS. Over here, we have Resolve. This is damage you deal, reduces the enemy damage by 25% for 2.5 seconds. Beautiful thing about this is it's not reducing the damage that you take. It's not just, hey, I get 25% less damage. No, I actually have to hurt the monster to do this. Not only that, but it is a group-oriented passive in that if I hit a monster, his damage is reduced. That means if he starts hitting someone else that's in my group, he should not do that much damage to my teammate. Unfortunately, as you can see, there is no effect on the monster to let you know that this has occurred. But you should know now that if you're in a large group, if a bunch of you are killing and you happen to hit the monsters around you, they should do less damage to you and your compatriots. I'm going to go ahead and put on this next passive here. This one isn't earned until level 13, however, and this has increased the maximum spirit by 100. Spirit fuels your defensive and offensive abilities. Well, we all know that. But what's nice about this is if for people like me who might go in and like using their primary abilities and their generators so much, and they forget to either use their abilities or don't have to use them until there's a demand for them, such as blinding flash. You usually don't need unless you're, in a group that's potentially going to hurt you. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on. And you'll notice here it doesn't change right away. It's still at 150. And there it goes. 250. So, at level 11 though, you finally get some new skills. The first of which is Crippling Wave. 6 spirit per attack. Unleash a series of large sweeping attacks that cause 110% weapon damage to all enemies in front of you. Every third hit damages all enemies around you and dazes them, slowing their movement speed by 30% and attack speed by 20%. For 3 seconds. So this, a very nice AoE ability. It's I like it for the same reason I like my rune lashing tail kick. It hits everything around me on that third hit. The first 2 hits hit everything in almost a 180-degree arc in front of me. So this is probably one of the best abilities you could possibly have for monsters that love to swarm you. It might not be great for larger monsters because the problem with this ability is you typically have to get a little closer to enemies than you would have to using the other spirit generators. But that third hit hits all the way around you and it reduces their movement and attack speed. So you could get in there, hit them hard, and if you need to, get out where they can't follow you for about 3 seconds, or stay in the fight where their attack speed has been reduced. You combine the attack speed reduction of Crippling Wave possibly with, say, Resolve here, and you reduce not only their attack speed, but their damage output potential. That's a pretty good build for defensive sake. Alright, aside from Crippling Wave, my Tempest Rush ability here got a rune called Northern Breeze. Let me pull it up here. It reduces the channeling cost of Tempest Rush to 8 spirit. So that allows me to perform it a lot longer. And I'll just kind of give you an idea here. Keep in mind my spirit pool is larger now too, so Not really doing a lot here, but I'm knocking them away and just kind of having fun, playing with it here. Look at that. That was a long time. Honestly, not my favorite rune, simply because I usually only use Tempest Rush to get to, when I see a big group of enemies coming, I want to get into the center of them in order to use my Vulture Claw kick here. So it usually only takes me a quick burst, but it's nice to know it won't take all of my spirit when it does that. Let's see if we can't find a decent group here for that. Alright, since it doesn't add too much to it, I'm going to show off the other rune that you get. This one is at level 12. This one is for Blinding Flash. It's called Self-Reflection. It increases the duration enemies are blinded up to 4 seconds. So you get 1 additional second on the blind for that ability. So as you can see, it's really not a major game changer, but it does give you more time. I'll go ahead and go in here and use it so you can kind of see it. No real animation change that I can tell. So I'm going to kind of get in here, knock him back a bit. And there we have it. So not too much there. There's really, unfortunately, not a lot exciting going on here at the Monk for those abilities. It's kind of scattered, obviously. Level 10 passives, are never really the most exciting thing to get, but they can help you so much. They may not be flashy, you may not be able to see them happening, but they really can change the way you play the game. And at level 11, Crippling Wave obviously is the real nice ability to get. Northern Breeze for Tempest Rush, not so much. So they kind of give you one that's good and one that's kind of meh. And that's perfectly fine because even though it's meh, it's very nice to have, honestly, in order to increase the usage of the skill. And that's what it's for. It makes the skill just a tiny bit better. Alright, same thing with Self-Reflection with Blinding Flash. Meh. Do I care about 1 extra second? No, not really. But it does improve my survivability just a little bit longer, which is great. Alright, so beyond that, though, at level 12 you also get a nice another ability, and I'm going to make a new build here to kind of show it off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to combine Fists of Thunder with Thunderclap, and using my elective mode here, I'm going to go into my secondary slot, go back to primary, and put Crippling Wave on there. Alright, there we go. So now I have 2 generating abilities.
I must wait to use that ability.
And that's pretty much why. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my primary weapon. I had equipped this spear here to slow down my killing pace so you could kind of see Crippling Wave a little better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on my primary weapons again, my 11.5, my 12.2. I have taken off my hands and my rings at this point to kind of show some things off. And we'll be going over that in a moment. Alright, oh, and I did find a nice staff here, 15.5 with 2 to 4 lightning damage. A random drop, which is kind of nice. Alright, so with those on, the ability you get at level 12 is Wave of Light. It costs 75 spirit, and focuses a wave of light that crushes enemies for 215 weapon damage as holy, followed by an additional 45% weapon damage as holy to all enemies in a line. Now, this skill was seemingly nerfed a little bit. However, in the long run, when you look at everything that's changed, honestly, it has been buffed. Here's what used to happen. It used to cost 100 spirit, which, when you had a basic pool of 150, meant you could only cast it once with a full pool of resources. The damage that was done initially, I don't have the numbers anymore. Since it's been so long since I went through the Monk, I seem to have lost the paperwork I had that showed the numbers. But the numbers that happen when the bell lands in front of you has been increased. The damage that happens to everything in a line has been decreased. In the end, the overall damage to the enemies in front of you that are immediately hit has been increased overall, and the enemies in a line has been reduced. All the numbers are technically lower than what they were before, but because of the 75% spirit cost, you can use the bell twice as often, pretty much, and basically because you can hit more often with it, you can kind of make up the difference. Again, without the proper numbers, I know it's kind of hard to visualize that. So here I'm going to show you one of my favorite reasons. Well, maybe not, because they're dead. Dead. Everybody dead. I like that. Okay. So let me go ahead and I'll just kind of show it off to you. I really like Wave of Light. Let me just get these guys here. Only 2 of you. As you can see here, there's a radius that hits when this bell lands, and then you hit the bell, and I'll kind of show you the line here real quick. And there it is. There's the wave of light that goes on beyond the bell. Alright, so I talked in a previous video here about primary abilities going on a 1-2-3 pattern. And that's it right there. As you can see, I have attack 1, 2 of Crippling Wave, and then attack 3 of Fists of Thunder. If I wanted to, I could do 1, 2, 3. And the beautiful thing about that is because Thunderclap only teleports me on the first hit, I could use the first hit to teleport in, and then use the AoE. But Thunderclap, and here's something I didn't cover last time. I talked about how not all the hits seem to be doing the damage of the 35% weapon damage as lightning in a group. I want to kind of take that back because the initial tests weren't proving it, but after I've played with it some more, it looks like it does work. It's just the monsters I was using to test it weren't that great. So it looks like it's doing what it's supposed to do, and even better, not only does it do the damage, the 110% damage to your primary target, the 35% weapon damage as lightning to enemies in 6 yards also happens to the primary target. What that means is Fists of Thunder does 145 damage to a target. 145 damage on a generator. That is a lot of damage considering how fast this attacks. And this is probably why I kill so fast with Fists of Thunder. When you watch the previous videos and you see how quickly enemies die, and I'm using nothing but Fists of Thunder with the occasional Ravenclaw or Vulture Claw kick, that's why. So you can see the 2 numbers popping up with every hit. 35 and 4, 5 and 14. So Crippling Wave technically is not as good because it only does 110, but it hits everything around me instead of just in front of me. So what I like to do is I like to go in, hit the first 2, finish with the third. And as you can see, that is a very useful combo. I go in, teleport, I do about 70% weapon damage to 235s, and then I do the third 110. And the beautiful thing is that Fists of Thunder attacks so much faster than Crippling Wave. Let's kind of give this a comparison. It takes about 1 second there for all 3 attacks. It takes about 1.5 seconds for Crippling Wave. About half second difference, but a half a second can mean the difference between life and death. My attack speed is still at 1.77 for both. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and get rid of Tempest Rush because there's one more ability you get at level 13, which is rather nice. This is a secondary, or no, it's not, I apologize, I'm wrong. It's under Techniques, same as Dashing Strike. This one is Exploding Palm. Costs 40 Spirit, causes a target to bleed for 220% weapon damage as physical over 3 seconds. If the target dies while bleeding, it explodes and deals 30% of the target's maximum life as physical damage to all enemies nearby. So this is great. It may not be that useful for a group of smaller enemies other than the explosion damage in general. Because let's face it, a bunch of little enemies with small health pools, 30% of their health pool is not a lot. But if you happen to hit 1 or 2 of those monsters with your Exploding Palm, and then they both explode, that's 60% of their life going across a pretty large area. What would really be good for this ability is if you get a large target with a large health pool, and you hit him with that Exploding Palm and get him to die with it. His large health pool divided across every small creature around him will really help to clean the area up. So let's go in, and the beautiful thing is, without doing much, you can see here, there it goes. 220% weapon damage is not bad. I'm going to hit a few targets here. There's 3 of them. One... Oh, I think they both exploded at the same time. I got a few hands out there. That was nice. So you can intentionally hit a monster till he's low and then wait for him to have enough health for you to kill him to make him explode. But keep in mind that the 220% weapon damage over time is really not that bad either, especially for 40 spirit cost. So it's 220 over 3 seconds, which I should calculate that for DPS, shouldn't I? Let's pull up that real quick while I teleport out, shall we? %, 73.3 repeating actually, 73% weapon damage per second. That's pretty good. A lot of other abilities that bleed and do dots like that don't really do that much damage per second. So now we're going to have a little fun with it. I'll go this way. Why the heck not? Let's get some spirit up before I get to the event. If I can. Any monsters? Anyone? I think they're afraid of me. I don't blame them, honestly. Now they're starting to come out. Here we go. Well, that was fun. Lots and lots of fun, actually. And I was able to show up a couple abilities there. I was able to get the Exploding Palm in there, the Wave of Light, and of course my combination of Fist of Thunder and Crippling Wave. Now, of course, you saw the items were starting to get into my way. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to go into options and show this off a tiny bit here. There's under gameplay. I've left this alone at default, but I might change this here. This is the item label display that happens when you hit the Alt button. Also when loot drops for the first time. It shows up for 10 seconds and it goes away. So what I want to have happen here, default action, this is, if you're used to Diablo 2, this might be what you want. This is push to show. So in Diablo 2, items would drop on the ground and you would not see the item level unless, or not item level, item name, the label. You would not see the label unless you pushed Alt. So if you like Diablo 2 style, you have this. If you didn't like Diablo 2 style because you didn't want to hold down the Alt for clicking everything, you could switch between the 10 seconds, which you push Alt once, and then they all show up for 10 seconds, or you can go to push to toggle. So this way, I'm going to do toggle, because I don't want to have to hit it all the time. But what I like to have is to have it off during combat, and then I'll turn it on after combat, is what I'm thinking here. so let's see there. I've got it. There we go. Looks like gold will show up regardless. Maybe the labels will show up even when they drop the first time, no matter what I have it set to. Yeah, gold shows up, that's for sure. Let's see if we can get an item to drop. Okay, there's crude bracers. Another doublet. So it looks like when they first drop, give it 10 seconds here. Alright, looks like I don't have a choice in the matter. So when they first drop, they're going to show up for the first 10 seconds. Which, is kind of a shame, honestly. I kind of wish I could turn them off for their initial drop. Just because, you notice when it was kind of very in close and I was fighting a lot of monsters in one tiny space, all of a sudden all these labels started popping up. And I couldn't really get around them very easily. I could have used force to move, but the truth is, because force to move does not cause you to pick up items, I believe. Let me let's double check that. That's a good thing to check right now. Let's go into key bindings, and it's under gameplay here. It's under move. Let's hit mouse 4, except there's my move. If I click on an item when I move, okay. Click to move, if you're curious, means you will not attack and you will not pick anything up. That's great, except for that really wouldn't have helped me back in that situation because I wanted to attack. And I was just kind of clicking in the wrong spot. And kind of look here, I've got a bunch of items I don't really need in my inventory. Not a lot, just a 2, really. The rest were blue. Oh, I meant to put on Dashing Strike to kind of show you guys. Dashing Strike can actually pass through barriers. Thunderclap cannot. So here, I could have gone through if I had Dashing Strike on. It's kind of interesting that Dashing Strike, an ability that doesn't actually say it's a teleport, teleports better than Thunderclap, which says it is a teleport. Now I'm going to point out some interesting phenomena here. And this is what happens to weapons and your DPS. Essentially, two one-handed weapons that do the same DPS as a two-handed weapon that does the same DPS. Dual wielding will typically do more. Now, there's a couple reasons for this. You might be thinking automatically, well, yes, of course, you get an extra damage, or sorry, an extra speed boost for dual wielding. Well, that's true. I get 15% extra attack speed when I'm dual wielding. So that means if I have two weapons that are 10 DPS apiece, you know, that's going to do more damage than a two-handed weapon that does 10 DPS. But take a look at this real quick. Let me move things around so I don't lose track of where my items are. I have 20.95 DPS. I'm going to put this staff on, which has about 4 more DPS. And you can see it didn't quite go up by 4. Another reason why dual wielding has more DPS than using a two-handed weapon is when you think about it, more attacks means you're going over your range a lot quicker. Like this staff has a 12 to 19 range. Each attack has a potential of only doing 12 damage. But of course these have a minimum range as well. Each attack here has a minimum chance to do 5 and 4. Which is, a lot less than what the staff can do. But because these attack half as quickly, 50% faster, I have more potential to break outside of that. Not only that, but every hit has a chance to critically strike. So your DPS, keep in mind here, when you see this damage number, it takes into effect your weapons, your attributes, attack speed, everything here. Critical hit chance, passives, dual wielding speed increases. So this number reflects what your critical strike probability has to do with your attacks as well. So you may start to notice that dual wielding will typically do more DPS. But keep in mind, if you're looking to do strong attacks, like if you want to see large attack numbers, then what you need are skills that hit hard, use your, that basically do a large number of weapon damage, and then you want to pick a weapon that typically hits slowly and does a large damage range. Your damage per second will go down, but your damage per hit will go up. Now this can be useful for groups of small enemies, let's say. Maybe you've got an AoE ability that can hit pretty hard, and you're finding that these groups of small enemies are overrunning you, and maybe they're getting through you before you can do your AoE abilities to kill them. Maybe if you had a larger damaging AoE, in other words, using a two-handed weapon to increase its damage that way, might help in that situation. And of course, in the end, it's all dependent upon what personal style you want to have. As you can see here, I do attack quite a bit slowly. Quite a bit more slowly to dual wielding. I like monks with fast attack speeds. That's my personal style. I think it just looks so much cooler. Especially when I'm sitting here combining them. That's just, I like the fact that I can switch between them so quickly. Now, another thing that's interesting here is that when you factor in plus damage and plus attack speed, like I have rings here with 2 to 4 damage, and then a couple more here with 2 to 4 and attack speed. What I've come to notice here is you put one weapon here, let's even dual wield. I've got 20.95, and I've got this glove here that does attack speed increase. Let's put that over here. 20.95 goes up to 21.5. So almost a one damage per second increase by increasing my attack speed by 3%. That's all that did. The plus to strength doesn't have anything to do with my damage because that's only for barbarians. It increased my armor, not my damage. In the hands of a staff, 23.6, 24.3. Not quite one either. But what I've come to notice here is it looks like attack speed helps increase the damage per second of a two-handed slow weapon more than it will for dual-wielding weapons. And my guess on that would simply be because when you're dual-wielding, your attack speed is already going up quite a bit. So increasing a small percentage of attack speed is probably going to be less of a gain for that, because if the number's already pretty high and you're only increasing it by 2%, then that's not going to seem like a big boost. But if the number is low and you're increasing it by 2%, it might seem more, You might notice it more is kind of what I'm trying to say there. So here I have, with the attack speed, I go from 1.0 to 1.03, and then from here I have 1.82 compared to 1.77. As you can see, that's quite a bit. Dual wielding also works really well with these plus 2 to 4 damages, and this is why witch doctors and wizards are probably going to stick to wands and offhand items, because the wizards' offhands, the focuses, which are the books and the orbs, and the witch doctors' mojos, which are like the Wonga dolls, will typically come with plus to damage on them. And plus to damage increases the DPS of a single weapon dramatically. This increases the 2 to 4, so on a two-handed weapon, this literally does what it says. My damage For my minimum goes 2 to 4. But when you're dual wielding, that +2 gets applied to both weapons. So in this case, I would get, you know, a 2 to this weapon and a 2 to this weapon. So this would be, you know, minimum 6. This would be minimum 7. You will watch this DPS. I'm going to just put on the damage rings for now. 21.5 goes up to 38. I've almost doubled my DPS just by adding 2 to 4 damage. So it's kind of crazy. It seems like dual wielding is going to be the way to go, but I can see the advantages of using a two-handed weapon. Because here's the thing, when you attack slowly, you attack more efficiently. So, for example, using my resource spenders, if I have an enemy that's got 100 health, and with dual wielding I only do 75% damage to him, then I have to attack twice. But I'm also overkilling him, which means I use more resources to kill him. If I have a two-handed weapon that kills him in one shot, I've used half the resources. I may attack slower, but I didn't waste as much resources to kill that monster. This is the kind of concept that's going to be... You know, I've gone over this a few times, really, and some of you might be tired of hearing it, but it's one of those things that I think is going to be... There's no one great answer, and I kind of wanted to demonstrate that. Is DPS is not always better, but I'm going to be honest with you. You're going to see some high... If that's what you want, you're probably going to want dual wielding. I've gone up to 40.73 because of the attack speed +4 and the other attack speed +4. So yeah, I've got a good amount of damage on me right now. I kind of wanted to show that to you guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and try and use these skills. And we're going to take on the Skeleton King. And let's see how well these skills that I've chosen, my combinations of Fist of Thunder and Crippling Wave, and my Wave of Light and Exploding Palm, let's see how much I can hurt him. So the beautiful thing about doing this combination of 2 Thunders to 1 Crippling Wave is that not only am I hitting everything around me, but Crippling Wave's third hit also does the slowing, does the slowing of their movement and attack speed. So I'm basically protecting myself by swapping to that one every now and then. I'm doing less damage, but I'm making them do less damage. And honestly, all I have to do is, because that's 3 seconds, and I can attack, basically do a full combo here every second, I can do 1 combo of Thunder with Crippling, and then do 2 combos of Fists of Thunder alone, to maximize my damage potential while minimizing the enemies. So I'm going to try and do that right now. First I'm going to make him bleed a little bit. And as you can see, there's the stars over his head shows when he's stunned, so I'm pretty much keeping that up almost the whole time. Oops, I messed up the combo just a little bit there. Let's do a little more damage to him. 2 waves. Whoopsie. There it is. And that feels really good.
I worked my hands to the bone.
So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of some of these. Hey, I had a better weapon on me, and I didn't even notice. That's quite alright. I didn't need it. Hey, +2 experience. Let's hold on to that. Go, go, go. Heh. I'll probably use this now. But that would have been overkill. I was killing too fast as it was. But that felt good. I didn't use the Exploding Palm as much as I really meant to, and it's something that I've done in the past in a previous video, where I basically would put Exploding Palm on 2 or 3 of the Skeleton King's minions, and then I would let them explode, like all 3 of them, and do more damage to the Skeleton King himself. So one more thing I want to try here is we're going to try and look at the way dual wielding works with skills, because there has been some questions regarding that. I want to know what skills alternate weapon damage. The best way to do that is to put a really low weapon on my main hand and a high weapon on my offhand. So I've got 2 to 5 and 5 to 10. So this, the minimum damage of this does as much as the maximum damage on this one. So let's get rid of my plus damage items here. And let's get to a location where I can test some skills. And we're going to go through each one, and we want to know which skills alternate and which ones don't. And we're going to do this pretty much unruned for everything here. Let me do this a little differently, because it's going to be easier to cycle 1 and 2. So here we go, Crippling Wave, unruned. My secondary, let's make it Lash Tail. Alright, so, ooh, hi there. 11. Oh, am I using Thunderclap? Didn't mean to. So let's take a look here. 9, 4, there's 11, 4, 17, 6. So definitely looks like Reach will alternate, which was my expected theory there because it's a generating ability. Now you might notice, because you attack in an odd number of times here, your main hand weapon will not always be your third hit. So let's go ahead and do it with Crippling Wave. 4, 12, 5, 9, 9, 7, 13. 5, 12, 5. So there you can kind of see it. 13, 23, 12. So we alternate damage on Lashing Tail and all the generators. And I kind of said before once, and I misspoke on this. I realized it after I had said it, that since you do 3 hits, your third hit will always be the main hands. That's why you want it to be the strongest. It alternates even regardless of that. So this will be main, off, main, off, main, off. So you have to use your combo twice before it goes back to main, off, main, or you have to wait about 3 seconds, I believe, is the drop-off time for combos. So your third hit, the really powerful one's not always going to be your main hand weapon, so you want to keep that in mind. It might be another reason why you might want to consider whether you're dual wielding or using a two-handed weapon. So good news is we found out that Lashing Tail Kick is an alternating ability, so let's go ahead and I'm going to put Thunderclap back on to be able to move around a bit more. We'll look at Tempest Rush, and Northern Breeze doesn't affect damage, so that's fine. And Wave of Light, that's the one I really want to know. As Wave of Light, since it used to cost 100 Spirit, I assumed always use main hand damage. And they said at one point that some abilities only use main hand calculations. So that's really what I want to try and find out here. Now, Lightning Flash, Breath of Heaven, obviously those aren't going to matter. Dashing Strike we can look at. And Exploding Palm might be hard to see. Let's see what we can do there. So this one probably a little bit longer than most, so hopefully that's not too bad for you guys. But there were a couple concepts I wanted to go over here. Now, I did forget to kind of go over the news when I started this. Hold on, let me get a little light on the subject here. There we go. A couple things, not really a lot of news this time around, so just real quick. Tomorrow, the 29th, at 9 p.m., on Fox during Family Guy, there's going to be a Diablo TV spot, which is supposedly going to be part of one of the cinematics for Diablo 3. So If you're getting real excited, if you watch Fox and Family Guy, you know, hey, there you go. Check that out. I'll be trying to see if I can remember to watch it myself. Also, the announcement for the PvP system, people were wondering how long is it going to take. One of the interviews, I believe on a Korean site, said that it will more than likely be this year. We don't have a time frame yet, but they're hoping to do it way before 2013, so we should see it reasonably soon. Alright, you. Let's take a look at you with Exploding Palm. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. 3, 3, 3, 3. 2, 2, 2. Okay, so that's alternating.
I have been healed.
Alright, Wave of Light. 5, 2. 7, 6. Yeah, I think that alternates too. So I'm a little confused on the main hand thing. I'm guessing that the main hand calculations are going to be for the cooldown abilities. Stuff that you have to wait a certain amount of time for. Either that, or they could have meant the properties of the main hand weapons, such as the affixes or the magical, basically the magical properties of a weapon. That, you know, I hate to say it, I really don't know. There's been a lot of confusion on this issue, and a lot of people thought that they meant that all of your skills are going to only focus on your main hand damage, and then, well, as you can see here, that's not the case. That's not true at all. It's alternating damage on my weapons, just like it should be. So let's get enough spirit to just double check Wave of Light. I'm going to fill up my spirit bar. Okay. I'll test the channeling ability of Tempest Rush here too, don't worry. So we can see that. I imagine each hit will probably be an alternating one. Okay, let's get some creatures up. 6, 5. They're blocking.
I don't have enough spirit.
And of course, now I don't have enough spirit.
I will return.
What? Just die. No survival bonus? I'm crushed. Do-do, 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 do-do. The Telltale Heart.
My injuries are less severe.
I so could have used a potion, but really, what was the point? 7, 7, 6. Yeah, it's kind of hard to test that one too much because of the 75 spirit cost. But, you know, hey, later on there's a rune that will reduce it. Let's, I guess, just take a look at Tempest Rush, shall we, and be done with it instead of wasting too much time on it. Honestly, it's looking like the primary thief, thumb. I will bite my own thumb.
My will falters.
Oh, here we go. 5, 5, 5, 5, 7.
Not enough
Yeah.
spirit. My strength fails.
Oh, come on now. Whee! Alright, that's not gonna work. Come here. What have I got? I've got no real good skills to handle this. It's my own fault. Oh, yeah, that's gonna cure.
I have been healed.
I've been healed and I just don't have it. Alright. 2, 2, 1, 2. Okay. Looks like that alternates too. Well, that was interesting. So I guess they do hit hard enough where if you're not really trying, then I guess they can kill you. See? You can't just be completely lax in what you do. I look forward to the higher difficulties, though. Alright, so we've kind of taken a look at a few things here on the monk. I'm just going to take a quick look at some things. So I did this for the demon hunter, looking at kind of the passives here. You can see here, now I have a weapon that actually does this. Every point of spirit spent heals you for life. And this one, of course, it will go up as you level. I'll just kind of show that here, where I did have that on my fist weapon here. So if I were to start using, well, I'm full up on health, but you might still see the plus numbers. No. But you'll see plus numbers following me as I spend spirit, so that's really nice for if you use spirit a lot and need to keep healed. Guardian's Path has been pushed down quite a bit. This used to be something that we got into the beta. This is giving you a chance to dodge while dual wielding, and it gives two-handed weapons increased spirit generation by 25%. So don't think that just because I'm getting so much spirit now because I'm dual wielding and attacking so fast that you're going to be spirit starved with a two-handed weapon. You may end up needing this passive for that, but you know, that's kind of hard to say. Needing a passive is all in how you make your build. Chant of Resonance. Duration of all mantras increased by 7 minutes. While one of your mantras is active, you gain 2 spirit every second. See, there you go. That's kind of nice. If you want spirit, you can put that on. Increases the duration of your mantras, so you never have to really worry about them, except to get their... when it comes to mantras, beautiful thing about those is they've made them a little more active than they used to be. They used to just have a base ability like this. 40 yards, you get a 15% chance to dodge for 3 minutes. Well, now they added a secondary effect so that you use it more often instead of just filling up a skill slot and have nothing to do with it. For 3 seconds after you use it, you get another 15% chance. So if you're in a pinch, you can use it as kind of a defensive cooldown. So this keeps you from having to worry about it even more, but you can still use it like that, and you gain additional spirit every second. So that's great for spirit builds. Here's an armor increase by 100% of your dexterity. That is amazing for a monk, honestly, considering your dexterity is going to be your primary ability and what you're focusing on. So not only will you have a high dodge chance, but you'll have a high armor chance. So even though a monk might be somewhat squishy now because of the low armor, down the road, once you hit level 20 and you get this, not so much. Sixth Sense, your dodge chance is increased by an amount equal to 30% of your critical hit chance. So there you go. There's incentive for making a critical strike build so that you can dodge a little bit more based on your crit. Pacifism, whenever you are under a stun, fear, or charm effect, all damage taken is reduced by 75%. I can see that being exceptionally useful when PvP comes out. But there are, of course, as you've seen, monsters that are nightmarish, which can be a pain in the butt. If you get chained nightmared or you're running away all the time, you might find yourself in a very bad situation. And something like this will prevent that from happening. We've got the Beacon of Itar, which reduces all your cooldowns by 15%. That's rather nice. I don't even know what abilities have cooldowns here. I'm going to go back to town. And we're going to, just so I can move everything off and take a look here. I haven't even looked at that. What has a cooldown? None of those, obviously. None of these. And, okay, can't use primary. Let's look at this. Okay, so yeah, Blinding Flash, Breath of Heaven, which is your healing and your blinding abilities from 15 seconds there. There's a cooldown of 20 seconds on Serenity and Inner Sanctuary. It looks like all the defensive ones have cooldown. Are there any offensive ones have cooldown? Seven-sided Strike. Okay, there you go. So there is one offensive ability that you have that has a cooldown on it. So other than that, it looks like that's going to be primarily a defensive thing, this Beacon of Itar. 15% can sometimes make the difference between life and death. I saw that with the Wizard, with the cooldown reduction in using Diamond Skin. Sometimes it was just enough to have it be useful again when I was about to take another big hit. Guiding Light, when you use a direct heal skill on another player, you and the other player deal 16% more damage for 15 seconds. It says direct heal skill. technically there is no direct heal in this that I'm aware of. I'm guessing they mean Breath of Heaven, which technically isn't a direct healing spell, it's an AoE healing spell. I'm guessing it means when you intentionally intend to heal. So in other words, secondary healing, like for example, if I use an ability and it just so happens to heal other people, it probably won't count. But that pretty much means only Breath of Heaven counts. I don't know about that one. I would have to look more into that later when the ability becomes available. Oh, here you go. Your resistance to all elements is equal to your highest elemental resistance. So if you're trying to make an elemental build and you just don't want to carry a whole bunch of gear with different elements, just pick one and there you go. You have this passive. This is one I look forward to. This is Combination Strike. Each different spirit generator ability you use increases your damage by 8% for 3 seconds. This would be incredibly useful in the build that I was using earlier. So, Fists of Thunder with my... I'll use these, because these will be easier for me. I'll have to probably put different mouse buttons down here, because trying to alternate between left and right and 1 for very quick attacks is not the best way of doing it. I think if I did left and then 1 and 2, it would work out. So let's put Deadly Reach on there. And Crippling Wave. So there, each one of these that I use gives me 8% additional damage, and you could make a build with all 4 generators. Of course, keep in mind if you did that, you would only have 2 abilities that were not generators, and it'd be an odd build, I would say, because it would be kind of hard to really put all those attacks into a free-flowing combo that would make sense, at least in my opinion. 3 is kind of pushing it even. I like the idea of doing 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3. But if I wanted to, I could do 1, 2, 3, or even 1, 2, 3. See, so I get the teleport. In this case, I would get a teleport, hit everything in front of me, and then a ranged attack. Okay, hold on. Reset that. See, that might be useful. That's actually kind of cool. I would really like to see Way of the Hundred Fists. This is going to be the high damage dealing generator. Right now, Fists of Thunder with Thunderclap with the 35% weapon damage additional, which is 145, means Thunderclap is doing more than base Way of the Hundred Fists will do. So I'm already seeing the kind of damage Way of the Hundred Fists is going to do, and I'm doing it in an AoE ability. But Way of the Hundred Fists is going to have its own runes that make it even better. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's going to be really cool. There's a lot of neat abilities here. Let me just pick a slot that I can actually look at them all. You know, Serenity envelops you in a protective shield that absorbs all damage for 3 seconds, and you can't be CC'd. That's kind of like Diamond Skin for the Wizard. Although I don't know if the Wizard's Diamond Skin protects you from CC. I don't think it does, so that's a little bit better. It's got a higher cooldown, though, too. And then you've got Sanctuary, which is a circle of protection on the ground that enemies just cannot pass. This is honestly really good for not only yourself, but group play. If you're getting, you know, diced by a group of monsters and you need to regroup, there you go. Put it down. They can't get past it. Sweeping Wind. See, Exploding Palm, I didn't go over this earlier. This used to be a spirit generator, and it did the same thing, but only on the 3rd hit. I like the fact that it's an actual ability now, because it's a lot easier to get the Exploding Palm's bleed and explosion out on the monsters that you want. It was a lot harder to control when it was a generator, and it's nice to see that it still does what it used to do, and it's still very cool. Sweeping Wind was also a generator, but now I look at this and I can't imagine what it would be like. I would love to use Sweeping Wind with the builds I have right now with the AoEs I'm doing, with the Thunderclap and Sweeping Wind, or not Sweeping Wind, but Crippling Wave, and then get this in there. Get a Vortex that continuously deals 15% weapon damage to all enemies in 10 yards. The Vortex lasts 6 seconds. It's refreshed. Yeah, I'm tripping on my words a lot today. Don't mind me. It's refreshed each time you strike an enemy with a melee attack. You land a critical hit. It has a chance to increase the Vortex effect up to 2 times for total 45% weapon damage. Amazing. I could just see myself using that with Thunderclap and just teleporting from monster to monster, doing a ton of AoE damage. Other abilities, we used to have Cyclone Strike in the beta. We don't need more. Pulls enemies within 24 yards into you and does a Furious Blast of Energy that does 100% weapon damage. Great for gathering monsters that are away from you if you want to. 7-Strider Strike. This is going to be the big one down the road. This is rapidly dash between nearby enemies, dealing 777 weapon damage over 7 hits, which is basically 110% weapon damage a strike. So if you're fighting one monster, you're going to hit that one monster 7 times, but it's random what it will hit in a group, so be aware of that. Looks cool. I can't wait to try it. And then Mystic Ally gives you a doppelganger, you know, just an additional, it's like a pet. That's kind of cool. Mantras all around. You can basically buff your party and yourself. You've got dodge mantras, a mantra that reflects damage back, a mantra that heals everybody every moment, and then conviction here where all enemies around you take additional damage. So monks are honestly, I like the monk class as far as its utility. It has great damage dealing capability, it has great movement, and it has a lot of abilities that you can use to manipulate combat in your favor, be it healing, dodge, additional damage to enemies. You pretty much manipulate the battlefield how you want. The flow of combat is yours to command, and that, to me, is probably one of the most interesting things about the class. Alright, well, I've gone on for quite a bit. So, that is the monk. I will try and move on now to the witch doctor. As of right now, the next thing on the reveal.diablo3.com has not shown itself. It's 1% away, so maybe next time I'll be able to tell you what it is. Until that time, though, I thank you for coming by and watching me ramble and trip over my words and tie my tongue. It's been a pleasure. So please leave your comments, questions, and suggestions here or at theshadowpost.com. Or sorry, theshadowpost@gmail.com. Thumb up the video if you like it, and you'll have a pleasant Diablo experience.